All right, thanks, guys. Indiana takes on Providence, 2:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off at Harrah's Cherokee. The Hoosiers of Indiana are -1 with the total at 140.5. We're 5-0 in our last five daily best plays on patreon.com/Brock Page. And access to the daily best play costs just $1.99. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, I'm going to explain a little bit more about it in just a few moments. We're also 4-1 in our last five extra daily picks on that site as well. And access to the extra daily pick costs just $2.99. Now, we currently have over 775 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/Brock Page. Now, we did see a half a point fade of Indiana and movement upward on the total in this one. The Hoosiers open 1.5 down to 1. Total open 140 down to total open 140 up to 140.5. Indiana beat Tennessee Tech by 40 in their season opener, and they actually held Tech to just 59 total points in that ball game. That was a 26-point spread that they easily covered as well. Now, Trace Jackson Davis scored 26 in the opener, along with 11 boards, 3 assists, and a block. Freshman guard Trey Galloway also scored a baker's dozen, along with a couple of boards, couple assists. Trey was officially 67% from the field in that contest. And, of course, junior guard Rob Finnessy also had a dozen points against Tennessee Tech, 5 rebounds and a couple assists for Rob. Now, Indiana's officially 1-0 against the spread when favored this season. And when it comes to the total in this one, both schools saw their season openers both fly way over the posted number for those contests, respectively. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Indiana Hoosiers -1 and the over 140.5 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines and personal leans out for college basketball here for you today. But before we go ahead and move on, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are red hot in several different packages on my Patreon website right now. We are currently 5-0 in our last five daily best plays on patreon.com/Brock Page. And if you want to access today's daily best play, it's only going to cost you just $1.99. We're also 4-1 in our last five extra daily picks on that site as well. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, that's only going to cost you just $2.99. Now, you might be wondering, why would you sign up for picks on Patreon and pay for them, where you can get free picks all day, every day, right here on YouTube from me? And that's certainly a great, thought, a great consideration. If I was in your position right now watching me on YouTube, I'd probably think the same thing myself. But hear me out. If you were to go out there and bet every single game that's on the board, side and total, like I do with my breakdowns here on YouTube, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. I strongly advise you not to do that, because the books are way too smart. They're way too sharp with the numbers. The odds become massively more against you the more and more games you play like that. And to be honest with you, the bookies just have so much more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that, type of action. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're my personal plays, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much. Life is a lot better betting the games that way. I'm having a lot more success betting on games in a smaller sample size like that versus wagering on every single game on the slate, side and total, like I do with my breakdowns here on YouTube. Now, currently, guys, we have over 775 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/Brock Page. And moving on, we are going to take a look at Boston College squaring off against St. John's, and that's going to be a 6 p.m. Eastern start time at the Mohegan Sun. BC's -1 with the total at 146.5. Now, when it comes to the line movement in this one, we did see steady early money on Boston College and the under in this one. Boston College open as a pick, now -1. Total open 147.5, down to 146 and a hook. Now BC barely squeaked past Rhode Island in their last ball game. They also lost by nearly double digits to Villanova in their season opener. The Eagles' leading scorer, Jay Heath, is just 2 of 8 from downtown. He's yet to shoot a foul shot in 2 games. Just really hasn't drawn any contact, hasn't been able to get to the line. Boston College's second leading scorer, Winston Tabbs, is also shooting just 33% from the field himself. They're taking on a St. John's team who dominated LaSalle the other day by the final of 82-65. They were laying 8 points and easily covered the number in that one. The Red Storm also won their season opener against St. Pete's. Vince Cole is averaging 20 points a game along with 4 boards and a couple assists. Cole's shooting 54% from the field, and he's also 100% from the stripe. Cole's also been solid from downtown. He's hit 6 of 13 from beyond the arc. Now, freshman guard Posh Alexander, he's also averaging a dozen a game through 2 contests, 5 rebounds and 3 assists for the rookie. But most impressive, Alexander's currently averaging 4 steals per contest. That's right, that's 8 total steals on the season through 2 contests. Meanwhile, the Red Storm's leading rebound getter is Isaiah Moore. The 6'10" junior is averaging 8 boards a game along with 11 points. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, St. John's is 2-0 to the over thus far in the season. They're scoring nearly 80 points a game through 2 contests. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the slight underdog in this one. Give me the underdog St. John's Red Storm +1 and the over 146.5 in that ball game. All right, next matchup. Eastern Kentucky, Xavier, 7 p.m. Eastern, tip-off at the Cintas Center. The Xavier Musketeers are -16.5 with the total at 145. We're seeing heavy action on Xavier and the over in this one. No real surprise there. It was a 1.5-point move toward the Musketeers and a 1.5-point move toward the over. So once again, Xavier opened 15, now 16.5. Total open 144, now 145 and a hook. Xavier's 3-0 straight up on this season. Just 57 points a game they're giving up through 3 games. Zach Fremantle is scoring 16 a night, along with 8 boards and a block. Now, the sophomore from Teaneck, New Jersey, is also shooting 40% from downtown. Also want to take a look at sophomore guard Kiki Tandy, who's also scoring 15 points a game, along with a couple of rebounds and 4 assists. Tandy's made 9 of 19 from 3 land himself. And, of course, can't forget about senior Paul Scruggs. That's kind of a name you should recognize, especially if you've been following this Xavier team over the past couple of years. Paul Scruggs, he's averaging 8 assists a night along with 13 points. He's also getting 4 rebounds a game and has 9 total steals through 3 contests. Now they're taking on an Eastern Kentucky program who's actually off to a decent start themselves. I'm not going to take that away from them, but they did defeat the likes of Charleston Southern in North Florida. So certainly not the level of competition acceptable to prepare you for a team of the caliber of Xavier. Now the Colonels' leading scorer, Trey King, has 0 assists thus far in the season, and he's shooting just 50% from the stripe. Meanwhile, freshman guard Willie Green Jr., their second leading scorer, he's shooting just 33% from the field and 20% from downtown. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this one, EKU's last 2 ball games both stayed under the posted number. Meanwhile, Xavier saw their second ball game of the season against Bradley stay nearly 40 points below the posted number for that particular contest as well. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the Xavier Musketeers -16.5 and the under 145 in that matchup. All right, next game I have for you, it is going to be North Carolina versus UNLV, and that's going to be a 7 p.m. Eastern tip-off at Harrah's Cherokee. The Tar Heels of North Carolina, they're the 12.5-point favorite. Total's 151 and a hook. We are seeing slight early movement toward the Tar Heels. Not as much as you'd expect, though. It's just a 0.5-point move toward North Carolina, and no movement yet on the total. Not a whole lot of movement there. Pretty good two-way action with regard to the line. But anyway, the Tar Heels are 1-0 straight up on the season, 1-0 against the spread in that ball game. They were laying 18 points against Charleston, and they got the job done against the number. They actually held Charleston to just 60 total points in that ball game. Caleb Love led the charge with 17 total points and 4 assists. The freshman guard also had a pair of steals and went a perfect 8 for 8 from the stripe. Now, 6'11" forward Day'Ron Sharp had double-digit rebounds along with 13 points and a pair of steals himself. The freshman from Greenville was 5 of 6 from the foul line. Meanwhile, 6'10" sophomore Armando Bacot had 8 rebounds himself along with 12 points and 3 blocks. Now they're taking on a UNLV team who gave up 91 points in a loss against Montana State. The Rebels were favored by 12 and ended up getting embarrassed by the final of 91-78. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the UNC Tar Heels minus 12.5 and the over 151 and a hook in that game. All right, next contest, it is going to be Loyola Marymount squaring off against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, 8 p.m. East. The Gophers are minus 14.5 with the total at 153. We're seeing pretty good, pretty steady two-way action with regard to the sides in this one. The Gophers open and remain the 14.5-point favorite. But when it comes to this total, we did see a 2.5-point move upward on the number. Total open 150.5 up to 153 flat. Now the Gophers just took care of Loyola a couple of days ago by the final of 88-73. Minnesota's 2-0 straight up overall for the season, 2-0 against the number in those ball games. Marcus Carr is scoring 32 points a game along with 6 assists and 5 boards. Carr shooting 54% from the field and 44% from downtown. Now junior guard Both Gotch is also scoring 16 points a night along with 6 boards and 5 assists. Gotch is also 9 of 10 from the stripe, and he has 4 steals defensively. And of course, junior guard Gabe Koster is scoring 13 a game along with a couple of rebounds. Gabe's averaging 2 steals a game himself and has gone a perfect 7 of 7 from the foul line. Now, Minnesota's taking on a Loyola Marymount squad who's 0-2 against the number thus far in the season. They actually failed to cover the number against Southern Utah in their opener. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, LMU is 2-0 to the over thus far in the season. Minnesota 2-0 to the over themselves. Give me the Minnesota Golden Gophers minus 14.5 and the over 153 in that contest. All right, next game I have for you, it is going to be Texas State versus Mississippi State, and that's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern start time in that contest. The Bulldogs of Mississippi State, they're minus 6.5 with the total at 137 and a hook. The Bulldogs are also the $3 favorite on the money line. Mississippi State is off to a rough start this season, 0-2 straight up and against the spread to start off the year. Having said that, though, they did hold Clemson to just 53 total points in their season opener. DJ Stewart scoring 16 points a game, 5 rebounds and 3 assists for the sophomore. Tolu Smith is also scoring 16 a night, along with 9 rebounds and 2 blocks. Meanwhile, 6'11" forward Abdul Ado is averaging 6 boards a game and has made 4 of 5 from the line. Now, total-wise, both schools saw their most recent contests both get over the posted number. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the Mississippi State Bulldogs minus 6.5 and the over 137 and a hook in that game. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup for the show. It's going to be a late one. Well, not a late one, but a later one. And it is going to be Stanford, Alabama, 9:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off at Harris Cherokee. The Crimson Tide's minus 1.5 with the total at 148 flat. Bama's 1-0 straight up on this season. That was a 24-point victory over Jacksonville State where they were laying 21. Sophomore guard Javon Quinterly scored 18 points along with 3 assists and a steal. Quinterly shot over 58% from the field. Jaden Shackelford also had 18 points along with 11 boards and 2 steals. And senior guard John Petty Jr. had 14 points along with 6 boards and a pair of steals himself. Now Stanford on the other side, they'll be playing their first game of the 2020 season. They lost their final 3 straight of the 2019 campaign to finish out the year. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the slight favorite in this one. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide -1.5 and the under 148 in that contest. And with that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap, once again brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. I like Indiana -1 over 140.5. St. John's +1 over 146 and a hook. I like Xavier -16.5 under 145. The North Carolina Tar Heels -12.5 over 151 and a hook. I also like Minnesota -14.5 over 153. I'm leaning toward Mississippi State -6.5 over 137 and a hook. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Alabama Crimson Tide -1.5 in the under 148. And with that, we're going to dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. And from our Instagram platform, shout out to J Mobile, Coolsari, Xyloid Plastic, Nurse Iskali, Sports Lover 2K, S. Campbell, Toronto. Shout out to Seven Swans, No Face OJ, Bubba Jonesy, Print Name Here, and Lucrative Nature. And finally, from our YouTube platform, shout out to Darius McNeil, CQP Underboss, Pittsburgh Gentleman PA. Shout out to the Mac, Bertrand Tech Montreal, Brian Judio, Kevin Taylor, Roger Tawari, P Just Ice, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Oliver Bryant. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. Most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.